Okay, you tuned into Bush Radio 89.5 FM. And
Sorry, I wanted to know though, why you chose that kind of music all the time. What kind of music is that?
Okay, so I'm very into, I'm not how do I say, I'm not for my generation.
Maybe it's not your style?
I like your music.
Thank you.
I didn't say I don't like it, but it's just like,
I don't know. I think
different.
I'm more of I like the 80s themed. I've always liked the disco. I'm not really for our music that we have currently. I'm an old soul, I would say.
Also, okay. We're learning. Anyway, still tuning in on 89.5 FM. It's time for our third interview for the day.
Okay, so today we have Matthew Ciaran. Am I saying that correct? Ciaran. Apologies. I'm like butchering the name. So you are a talented tattoo artist, and you try to be, but you're doing well so far, and you're quite well known in the Cape Town region already. And we just wanted to get to know your work a little bit because we do find it, or I find it quite interesting. So, do you want to tell us a little about yourself as well as how you started?
That's quite broad. I started, I'm going to go there. I've always been into art. And at like 10, 11 years old, my parents got me this little fake tattoo machine kit. And I started there, and then life went on, and I sort of tried to pursue a career in music, and that didn't work out. And then went back to like, listen, I really like art, and I really like talking to people. And what I really want to do is be a therapist, but I also want to do art at the same time. So I can't see a better option than drawing on people for some money. And then they probably tell me more than they tell their therapists, which is quite interesting. I hear some really hectic things, but it's cool. I really enjoy talking to people. I enjoy the look on their faces when they get something good, and it sort of changes their whole perspective. Perspective on themselves. Yes.
That's all good.
Yeah.
So did you always know that this would be the career path for you? Because you've mentioned now that you were thinking of being, a therapist and things like that. So was this always the set?
I think it was always destined for me. I mean, as much as I tried to get away from it, it sort of just popped up at every corner.
Of course, it makes sense. But you're doing well so far. So is there anything, that stood out for you in terms of like what you've done so far, the work you've done?
Anything that stood out for me in the work I've done?
Because I'm sure you've done plenty of, pieces, but was there anything you were like, okay, wow, I've done well?
Oh, these pieces, yeah. It's always the ones where they come to me and they say they want to do this thing, and I look at it and I go, holy, like how am I going to do this? And it's the challenge that always, so the more challenging ones, especially the fine lines, sort of hectically detailed, those really are. But I'm very much into, much into the old school traditional, American traditional and Japanese traditional. There's something about those thick, simple lines. Like if you mess up, you're going to see you mess it up. You can't hide it in all these big pieces and stuff. So I really like the challenge of simplicity, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
And tattoos are often deeply personal for clients, or sometimes totally not.
Oh.
Do you have like any memorable experiences where a tattoo held like a really special meaning for someone?
I guess a lot of them get things for family that's passed away. I mean, it all sort of gets muddled up. Anything really memorable? I can't say yet. I actually like the really weird tattoos. So if someone comes to me with like a wishbone from a chicken, I really like those. Not necessarily. I've done a lot.
What's the weirdest tattoo that passed you?
The weirdest tattoos. I get this question a lot as well. I really do. The weirdest tattoo I've done.
I hope it's radio friendly.
No, funny enough it is. They'll always joke around and say, put the tattoo here. And I'll say, no, I can't. But I haven't, unfortunately, I'm going to have to bore you. I haven't done many weird tattoos.
And where do you find like inspiration for your designs? Like how do you have your particular style, or how do you specialize in it?
So inspiration, a great place for inspiration is always what's it? Pinterest. Pinterest is always a great inspiration, and then also looking around and seeing what other people have. I mean, I can't watch TV anymore without like looking at someone's tattoo, like zoning in on their tattoos. But inspirations, I guess I'm going to be boring again and say it comes from everywhere. And I'll just try and make it my own as best as possible.
Okay, so now you personally, how do you feel, man, while you're doing your tattoo, someone else is in pain? Do you enjoy that? Do you be like, hey, shut up?
The more pain, the better.
Yeah. I'm putting pain for you to pay me.
No, it is quite a strange feeling, especially the fact that, look, like every other person these days, I suffer from quite a bit of anxiety. So, like, in the process of, like, I could mess this up and for the rest of their lives, it's not a messed up tattoo, but you have to sort of put that out of your head. But sometimes I'm quite a softie, so I sometimes feel really bad if they're in pain, and it sort of slows down my tattooing. But I have to really just block it out and pretend they're not in pain. Even if they say they're in pain, I'll be like, but I'm not. So
again, if you have just tuned in now, we're speaking to Matthew on 89.5 FM, a tattoo artist. Matthew, I know that in other countries, tattoo is one of those things that is taken seriously, and other places tattoo artists make a lot of money. How do you feel about the respect and also the industry of yourself as a tattoo artist in South Africa? Do you feel like South Africa is taking it seriously, professionally, to a point where, like, even your clientele, they know that this is a job?
No, I definitely think that it's definitely a mix. Look, there's a lot of guys that hold a lot of respect and have been doing this for 20, 30 years. They really are trying to make it something. I mean, the convention was done recently as well. Convention always goes really well down here. There's a massive tattoo community down this side. Unfortunately, we don't have as much, like we have the BCL licensing and stuff. So you need your medical waste licensing, but you don't need it. That's the sad thing. It's like anyone can buy a tattoo machine off Amazon, or what's our thing? Take a lot. Anyone can buy a tattoo machine.
Free advertising.
No, you can, but you're not gonna. They sometimes have a little disc in there that you can learn from, but trust me, it's not gonna get you far at all. And then, so we do have quite a lot of, we like to call them scratchers or kitchen magicians, people that have never gone to do an apprenticeship and they've bought something off Take a Lot and they sit in their garage or their kitchen. And look, some of them obviously can get quite good, but a lot of them just don't have the experience of working in the industry and learning from the right people. Like, there's so many things to consider about skin and different types of skin and different colors of skin and the depths and the voltages and the speeds. And geez, it's really quite am I going off topic?
No.
Okay, cool.
It's quite cool, actually. So you do say now that from what we're hearing, you have like quite a bit of experience then. So how long have you been doing it? Because it is quite interesting to hear from, your point of view as a tattoo artist, that there is more to consider than just being an artist. Because, I mean, like you said, we always see that they call it also sometimes jail tattoos. So it's basically anyone that does these tattoos with because I've seen it firsthand, guys. It's not cute.
I've got some. I'll never get rid of it. So
no, but I mean, like, it's quite interesting. So how long have you been doing it? And Yeah, so I did a 2-year apprenticeship in Strand at one of the tattoo suppliers. I was very lucky, so I got to learn a lot more than I think a lot of other apprentices. And then I finished my apprenticeship. I maybe tattooed for another year that side, and then I moved on this side because I wanted to get closer to Cape Town. I've been so far out of Cape Town and been trying to move closer and closer. So I didn't manage to get into another studio, but I'm also, look, don't judge me, but the whole giving 40 to 50% of what you make to someone else and then still having to sweep their floors and deal with their customers. Yeah,
I'd rather sweep my own floors, and I'd rather give that 50% towards my own rent. So I've been doing it for I'm still very new in the industry, for about 4 or 5 years. Yeah, I've still got a long way to go, a lot more to learn, but I like learning. So.
Nice.
What does the future look like for you in terms of with your career, and where do you see yourself in a few years?
Jeez. It's a question I tend to ask myself a lot. Look, I don't think tattooing will be everything. I think to obviously get other people underneath me, well, not underneath me, that sounds so bad, but other people join me and get maybe a few branches here and there would be really cool, but I think just to venture off into other things as much as possible. I do have quite a few things coming along, but tattooing will always be a part of what I do. I just don't want it to be all I do. But sometimes it is all you do because of all the designing and people
And maybe people are listening who want to get their first tattoo. What advice would you give them?
Don't be scared. It doesn't hurt at all. No, I'm joking. There is some needles. Yeah, ribs hurt a little bit. Listen, it's not as bad as people say it is. It's really quite an experience. I find it quite a spiritual experience, especially like because it's such a when you do something for a long time. What's it called? I'm losing words now. A relationship is a. Oh God!
You're losing
a commitment. Okay, yo, guys, it's bad that no one here knew that word.
So it shows our relationship how they look like.
Not committed.
It's quite a commitment, so I think it shows quite a lot for you to get your first tattoo. I mean, don't obviously for your first one, I think pick something meaningful, but. Trust me, as time goes on, you're going to start getting wishbones and stuff as well. You're going to see something that looks cool on a day and say, I want that. But, yeah, don't be scared. Don't think too hard on it. Yes, it's a permanent part of your body, but once you leave this body, it's, just make memories for yourself. Think of memories are a really good idea for your first tattoo. Yeah.
And what would you say to people who are like creative, also being busy with arts from your experience, who maybe wants to start with tattooing? What would you say to them?
I would say don't go to Take-A-Lot. Get a nice portfolio and go around to as many shops as possible. Look, it's quite hard to get an apprenticeship. But if your portfolio is good enough and you're annoying enough, don't be too annoying. But a little bit of annoyance always gets you quite far. Persistence. That's probably a better word. I like the annoying word.
Let's go back way back in history. So your first tattoo and what was your experience? Did somebody trick you into doing it, or were your parents were like, what? There are people who do a tattoo and then hide it from their parents for years until...
My first tattoo or the first tattoo I did?
No, your first tattoo in your body.
On my body. Okay, so my first tattoo was a little yin-yang and sunburst on my arm here that I got because I wanted to know what it felt like for 50 Rand in Easter review.
Yeah.
Because the next day I was getting a really cool mic on my hand. It was a weird experience. I did go to a kitchen magician. It was great though. All I said was when they started was, because the pain, like you build up so much anxiety. It's always those 10, 15 minutes before the tattoo that's the worst. Or just like a piercing. I don't know how many of you have had piercings. That sitting on that table and waiting is always the worst part. And then when it starts, it's really not that bad.
And there's also this, I don't know, where they say tattoo artists, they always would have one tattoo in their body where they're constantly building it up. Do you have one? When was your last time you put ink in your body?
I did my hand maybe a year and a half ago because now I've moved away from all my friends that tattoo me for free. I have to start doing myself. I just I'm quite bad at picking themes for my body. I don't know if you can see, there's sort of bits of everything. I try and keep to a theme on this arm, like music and fun, but again, I also got one of those guys that's got like wishbones and a hole in my leg saying to Wonderland. I've got some really weird tattoos. I wish I thought it out more. So that would be my best advice is do try and think about it, like at least one arm, try and think about a theme and how it flows together because it really does make a difference.
So now, I remember during the time of COVID, a lot of businesses struggled a lot, with contact and all that. How did you do during that time? Or it was your starting time, as you said, is 4 years. And also now, as an artist, how are you coping as an entrepreneur, as a business person? Do you feel like business is low or business is booming. People line up for Matthew.
So in COVID, look, I didn't start yet in COVID, but I've heard funny stories. I know,
I'm saying as a build up to that one, after that COVID, still businesses were struggling a lot. Yeah.
Look, tattooing is always one of those things where in season time, you are going to be booming and wanting to buy cars and houses, and then winter comes around and people are too cold to get tattoos. But listen, guys, winter is the best time for tattoos, while I'm on that note, because you're not in the sun, you're not going to the beach. You're not sweating profusely. It's the best time.
It heals quickly.
It heals much nicer. Anyway, what was the question again?
The question is, how are you coping as a business now?
Yeah, look, there's always people wanting tattoos. There's a lot of tattoo shops. There's a lot of tattoo artists. So it just depends on, I feel like, yes, your work speaks for yourself, but also how you handle people really brings them back. You can do sort of not a great tattoo, but because your experience was so good, they will come back to you and then they trust you again. So it's up and down.
It's a mixture, yeah.
Summer times it's great. Winter times it does slow down, but then you have your diehard tattoo guys, your regulars. That sort of keep it going.
Okay, so where can we find your work in case we do want to view it? And I know we've spoken about just also the fact that you do flash tattoos on Thursdays in Kloof Street. So how does that work? Because there is quite a collaboration going on there on that side.
Yeah, so Thursdays, every Thursday. At the moment, it's every Thursday. For winter, I might make it every first Thursdays, but from 5 to 9 o'clock, I am in Kloof Street at Deus. Every time I go there, someone tells me it's pronounced a different way. At Deus. And I've got flash sheets there that you can come and check out. It's 354 flash. The size that you see is the size that you get. Yeah. And they always have some live music or something, so it's really a cool vibe.
Yeah, it's definitely.
I do a lot of first tattoos there, actually.
Really?
Yeah, look, you're not supposed to tattoo on alcohol. I feel like, yes, it makes your blood thinner and you bleed a bit, but it's more that the drunker you are, the more annoying you are. And that's, I feel like, the real reason that we don't want to tattoo drunk people.
That's not Bush Raider, that's Matthew, though. Disclaimer in there.
But, I've done a lot of first tattoos there, actually.
So now, obviously, it's end of the month, weekend. What are you up to?
Me?
Yeah.
You're working and trying to get work and trying to set up this new studio because I've been bouncing around for a while and we're trying to, I don't want to say too much because I sort of try and let the universe let it come. But opening up this new studio at the moment is the goal. Yeah.
Do you have partnerships? Are you working alone?
I've got one partner. He's a really good partner.
What's the name? We have to know.
What's his name? The business partner. Jan Kruger.
Oh,
doesn't speak a word of Afrikaans, but that's his name.
Is he also a tattoo artist?
He's not a tattoo artist. He's actually a chef. So we're sort of trying to do a whole collaboration in this new. It's going to be, my studio is going to be part of a bigger collaboration thing, but we're going to have food and cannabis and tattoos all sort of in one space. Separate but together, and sort of try and see how we can
Talking about collaboration, I see that a lot of creative people are collaborating nowadays and say like, I do this, you do this, you bring your people, I bring mine.
You need to
fuse it.
Yeah, everything's so oversaturated that you can't have, you need more than one thing in a place for you to be brought in, because you don't want to. If you can get, when you go for tattoos, you need to eat, right?
Yeah.
Okay, if you don't know, you need to eat. Otherwise, something will happen. Look, best to have some sugar or just a meal before and then a meal afterwards. But if I have my studio here and across the road there's an eatery, that's nice. But if I have my studio here and right in the same building there's an eatery as well. Obviously sanitation and it needs to be clean and everything, but you'd rather stay in there, right? So you need to...
Can I ask what's the reason for having to have, like you said, you have to have sugar and you have to have something in your system? Is there a particular reason, especially for people that aren't fully aware of what tattoos is about and how it affects the body in a sense?
Look, so I'm not a doctor, but from my experience, it's all about blood pressure, and because, like I said, those 10-15 minutes beforehand, you anticipating it so much that usually adrenaline sort of spikes quite a bit. And then once it starts, your adrenaline has nowhere to go. So that's when things sort of take a turn for the worse. So a little bit of sugar and a meal before definitely does the trick. I have had someone come in with 3 hours of sleep and said they didn't eat. And usually I say no, but he was very persistent. So I just tattooed him and he had a nice pass out. Like a convulsion sort of pass out. So that was scary. So, I mean, for your own safety, plus, why would you want to get a tattoo on an empty stomach?
So do you think tattoo will still be, by the way, though, because this is, I've always, ever since Jordan made sure that organized this interview, is I saw recently there was technician, engineer, but who developed a machine, and that machine you can just program it, whatever you want it to print, and then point it in the skin, and then it's 3D on your... Yeah.
It's probably great for people that are really, really socially awkward. But you'll never be able to combat the personal experience.
For you as a creative, and your job was doing that, how do you feel about the new technology? Because they're even saying that, no, we're not saying no to tattoo artists, but we want to work with them and all that. Copyright their art.
Things are ever changing. You always need to adapt to every situation. So I guess if machines are starting to take your job, try and show them that you can do better than a machine. Yes, your art might not be as symmetrical or whatever as the machine, but the machine can't give you a hug.
Facts.
You know what I mean?
Facts. Thank you very much, Matthew, for coming through on 89.5 FM.
And where can we find your socials just to get in touch or book an appointment?
That's a good idea. That's a good question. So I've had to change it recently because Instagram, it's dsmt.cpt_tattoos.
Lastly, what would you like to say to that listener who's listening now? Maybe who's going through a lot, thinking, things are not going my way. What words of motivation can you give?
Get a face tattoo.
Whoa. Whoa.
I'm joking. Look, tattoos really do make you feel, it's a weird thing to say, but they really do make you feel better. Again, it's a big spiritual journey that you go through because there's the pain, and then it's the overcoming of the pain. And then it's this new thing that you have to carry on your body. So just think of a really nice memory or your mom's name or something like that and come through. See if you like it. Get it on a spot that, a lot of people, if you get it on the back of the arms or something like that, you completely forget you have it. So if you just want to experience the experience first, do that. But,
Matthew, thank you very much for coming through. Again, contact details?
dsmt.cpt_tattoos.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.